Good evening, good evening. Okay, round two, chapter 11 of The Power of Awareness. And this chapter is called Interference. Mr. Goddard starts off with, "You are free to choose the concept you will accept of yourself." Now, the concept of yourself, if you're just joining us for the first time, is how you think about yourself, your abilities, your restrictions, your your way of being in the world, essentially. Anything that is part of the way that you present in the world, okay? Your thought processes, from your thought processes to any attitudes. We'll keep going. Backtrack to other videos. There are better explanations than what I have right now. Okie dokie. So, essentially, we're talking about your truth, your authenticity, your realism. Okay. You have the ability to choose the course of your life. The course of your life. Your raised self-concept equals your raised abilities. So the higher the assumptions you have for yourself, the higher the expectations, the higher the lack of barriers that you see, that you perceive for yourself, the more increased your abilities are, particularly in terms of manifestation. Okay? You have influence over the quality of your life, so choose. Use your imagination for what it's meant for. It's not just for children. Okay, so Mr. Goddard uses the word imagination when he talks about focusing in on your goals, your intentions, what you're calling into existence for yourself. We are walking around with ether that contains anything that we can imagine for ourselves. You know, what comes to mind right now is God may never come when we want him to, but he's always on time, and that he has the greater plan. So even if you have in mind particular details that you want to see step by step, if you're planning your steps and it doesn't work out exactly in the way that you planned it, but it still works out, is because the universe, the Most High, God, Jesus's plan is better than yours. I mean, yours is a good outline, but the ultimate how things play out is outside of your hands. We are part of the I am, but we don't dictate the details. We can kind of coax it in a particular direction with our intentions and our imagination. Okay. So, he quotes Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20. Now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Unto him be glory. Okay? Him that is able to do more than can ask or think is your imagination. And the power that worketh in us is your attention. Understanding imagination to be him that is able to do all that you ask, and attention to be the power by which you create your world. You can now build your ideal world, he says. All righty. So imagine yourself to be the ideal you dream of and desire. Remain attentive to this imagined state. Hone your intensity. Practice your intention and focus it. Focus your intention, focus your imagination, focus your attentiveness. Remain attentive to this imagined state, and as fast as you completely feel that you are already this ideal, it will manifest itself as reality in your world. So, with the intensity that you can bring to your thoughts for your goals, the faster it will show up in the reality that you imagine it, essentially. Okay. And he goes on to quote John 1:10, which says, "He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not." Then he goes on to Colossians 1:26 and 27, and he says, "The mystery hid from the ages, Christ in you, the hope of glory." So the he in the first of these quotations is your imagination, as previously explained. There is only one substance. This substance is consciousness. So we're surrounded by the consciousness. We are a part of and surrounded by the consciousness. It is your imagination which forms this substance into concepts, which concepts are then manifested as conditions, circumstances, and physical objects. Thus, imagination made your world. Conditions, circumstances, and physical objects. So anything that you've seen that humankind has developed started off as an idea, as a concept, based on the conditions that were around and physical objects, the materials for the building of these things. Architecture. If you have an Instagram page, as I do, there are architectural pages that show off people's works internationally. OMG. These people do some lovely work just with architecture. Okay. And think about machinery. If you've ever seen YouTube videos on, big machines that they use to like as earth movers and other scientific things, the imagination that it took to come up with the scale of some of these things and then the functions that they're put together for. Even the machine that was made that can view auras, that started in someone's imagination. They figured out that there might be a way to measure and give a color scheme to it. And so we have many different things that started off in the human imagination. So it's not like it's impossible. We're just not practiced in doing it. Okay. This supreme truth, with but few exceptions, man is not conscious of. Okay, so this is the supreme truth, that we have the ability to work things into physical existence. The mystery, Christ in you, referred to in the second quotation, is your imagination by which your world is molded. The hope of glory is your awareness of the ability to rise perpetually to higher levels. Christ is not to be found in history, not to be found, nor in external forms. You find Christ only when you become aware of the fact that your imagination is the only redemptive power. When this is discovered, the Tower of Dogma will have heard the trumpets of truth, and like the walls of Jericho, crumble to dust. So, my interpretation of this paragraph is that Christ consciousness, the kingdom of God is within you. Okay, once you discover that the Christ consciousness is there and you work with the law involving that, then there really is no limit to what you're able to do. I mean, just think about the most, not necessarily famous, but the most influential, effective human beings that there have been. What great works were they able to perform? and not necessarily with physical things, but with, society. You know, Gandhi moved millions of people with his words, okay? The same for Buddha, the same for Confucius. Many people benefited from their thoughts, okay? And we still quote them to this day. Other things are more material, other things are more spiritual. Look around us, all the greats, whatever is considered a great, whoever is considered a great, has contributed by the use of their imagination and their connection with their Christ consciousness, their I am consciousness. Okay? And with that, I am going to conclude this video. Thank you for joining me for this chapter 11. We will continue with 12 and 13 next week. And until then, thank you so much. If you have any commentary, you can leave it down below and I will respond accordingly. If you want to contact me directly, the best way to do so is at pullyourpowerback@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Be well.